And 1 in 5 Americans use a smartwatch. I use one or a fitness tracker. That's according to a Pew Research Center survey. The St. Johns County mom you're about to meet used hers for years.
But recently, she noticed a dent in her wrist where she wore her device. She turned to our On Your Side team to find out if she should be concerned.
They're designed to keep you healthy. Track your calories, your steps, and your sleep habits.
I wanted to track my progress and see how much activity I really did each day.
Sherry Glazier wore her fitness tracker for more than a decade, but recently...
Through here, it's definitely a dent. You can feel the bones and the tendons very easily in this one spot.
She noticed this dent.
I took it off one afternoon and I was charging it and I actually just looked down and I was paying attention to my wrist and I thought, wow, what is this dent that I have? And so I jumped on the internet and started looking around.
She didn't find anything scientific, but a lot of chatter on blogs and wondered if it was caused by Bluetooth.
It would be readily syncing with the Bluetooth connection for maybe hours at a time, and I think that is where the issue started to come into play.
Glazier reached out to us to get answers.
Has it done any lasting harm?
And the wrist is complicated.
We took her questions to Dr. Chris Gall, an orthopedic surgeon who specializes in hands and wrist. We asked him about so-called wrist dent.
I wouldn't say it's the most common thing that we see, but patients come in and they mention that they've got wrist symptoms, and sometimes they relate that to objects they're wearing or activity trackers or watches or bracelets or things.
Dr. Gall says wearing your device too tight can cause compression.
A lot of these devices now don't need to be removed as frequently, and so there's really no break or no rest given to the structures underneath them.
And that, he says, can cause what appears to be a dent.
It typically is not permanent, and what happens is with focal compression over any tissue, you can create a little defect in that tissue, or you can kind of change the growth of that tissue underneath.
Glazier says it's not the dent that concerns her the most.
It's more about what has it done to my bone, my tissue long term. My question is, has anybody said to people not to sync it while you're wearing it? And the constant radiation as the Bluetooth is engaged, how healthy is that for a person?
According to the CDC, wearable technology typically uses low-powered radio frequency, or RF, transmitters to send and receive data, and exposes a user to very small levels of RF radiation over time. Devices sold in the U.S. that transmit this type of radiation can't exceed exposure limits set by the FCC back in 1996. But there's pressure on the agency to revisit those standards since these devices have become ubiquitous over the last 26 years.
They're based on short-term exposures for protecting against heating only, not for long-term, daily, chronic, low-level exposure.
Theodora Scorado, Executive Director of Environmental Health Trust, says the constant exposure, especially among children, demands more scrutiny.
So we have been calling on the FCC to review all of the science because there are hundreds of studies, in fact, thousands of studies that show effects at very low levels.
Dr. Gall, though, says studies have shown that this type of radiation does not create cellular damage.
There's no good evidence that that radiation or that those Bluetooth or Wi-Fi signals is causing any long-term damage.
Although he doesn't think we need to worry about RF radiation from a wrist device, he does have a suggestion if you wear one.
Loosen it and remove it. If you can get a finger or two underneath your device, you'll still get good readings, and it should be able to move up and down, so that if there is a little rough edge on that, or if there is a little pressure spot, it's not always on the exact same tissue.
Glazier says she still has the dent nearly 2 months after she stopped wearing her fitness tracker, and for now, plans to keep it off.
Now, the FDA sent us a statement saying, in part, based on the evaluation of the currently available scientific information, the FDA has determined that the weight of evidence continues to demonstrate that there's no link between exposure to radio frequency energy from the use of cell phones or smartwatches, fitness trackers, and any health problems at or below the radio frequency exposure limit set by the FCC. I did reach out to the FCC multiple times, but Anthony, I still have not heard back.
So we were talking about this when you were thinking about doing your story, and I took off my watch, and actually we have video, I do believe, that we can show you that shows you the dent in my
Yeah, you had a pretty
wrist.
significant, and we don't know if it'll go away because you always wear your fitness tracker, but Dr. Gall told me that if you have a wrist dent, you're either wearing your watch or fitness tracker too often or you're wearing it too tightly. He suggested you may want to wear it on your left wrist one day, your right wrist on the other, just as a way to give that wrist some break.
Yeah, I want to start doing that.
Yeah.
Well, it's